Gordon Freeman in the flesh.
No, you cannot go back. In order to do that, you would have to hit an invisible entity called a triggered change level. The change level to take you to the previous map does exist in this map, but it is inaccessible. To show you where the change level is, I will be using a program called BunnyMod XT. It may look like you could simply jump over to it, but there are in fact invisible barriers in the way. This change level would take you back to the Nylanth boss arena, which is obviously where we're going to visit next. The change level on this map seems to not work. The trigger on this map is way out in the distance. Unfortunately, we are now stuck in the void, unable to do anything. Also, it may not look like it, but I have lost all of my weapons. For the sake of, I don't know, fun, I'm just gonna pretend that everything does work correctly. In cases where Valve thought it was impossible to go back to the previous map, the game state data for those previous maps is deleted. This means that some maps will act as if we had never been to them. This doesn't impact things too much. The change level is not through this chute, it is actually up here. That is the change level to C4A1D, the map that we just came from. The trigger is hidden behind this force field thingy. This is kind of weird considering that you don't enter the map from this area. Once again, the trigger is completely hidden away from us inside a box. It is now time to visit Half-Life Source. The game really does not want you to go back to C4A2. The game will pretend that the ceiling is caving in and will forcibly reload the latest save. During the fading out sequence, there is still a split second where you can make a save. When that save is loaded, the entire sequence begins again. By spamming the save button and some other inputs, you can therefore very slowly move through the tunnel. What you're seeing here is an abbreviated version of what happened. The entire thing took 3 minutes and approximately 170 reloads occurred. Upon reaching C4A2, the game might not let you move around. The game still thinks that you're in the doomed state. When this happens, you have to reload the last save, and it will just eventually let you move. Why? I do not know. Here is a reenactment of what happened. If you had already gone to Zen, then there is no way to go back through C3A2D. The game state will not be preserved, which means this door will be closed again. There is no way to open this door from the wrong side. This elevator will not move back up. On C3A1, some debris blocks our path. We can avoid this debris by starting the game on either C3A1A or B, because this means there will be no save data for C3A1. It has to be on one of those two maps because there is no way to break this wall from the wrong side. You cannot get up this elevator shaft unless the elevator is in the down position. The game state data for this map is deleted when you go to C3A1. This means that if you want to go back through this map, then you can only go as forward as C2A5G.
Automatic medical systems engaged. Morphine administered.
You've been wounded. Let's try this. Been that much of a burden? Allow me to treat that injury.
I couldn't find any other way up, so for this one jump I used the infinite health door.
Depleted.
What you see here is the change level to C2A4, the map that we were just on. This means that we can't go back any further than this. The trigger to go to C2A3D is apparently not functional. This train car should be left somewhere between this elevator and the electrified water.
Automatic medical system.
I was unable to find a way to damage boost up this hole. It's simply just a little too tall. Upon going back to C1A4I, you would find that the tentacle monster has reappeared. You can leave I in any way that you want, except this way, which would be the bridge towards K, which is, you know, the ideal way. Thank you, Valve. There is no way to make this elevator move down. The only way to prevent it from blocking the path would be to never use it at all, which would mean that you would have to get up here using the infinite health door and a lot of explosives. This early on in the game though, that's not an option. There is no way back up this elevator shaft. For fun, I wanted to see if I could go back through all of the We've Got Hostiles maps again, even though that's not actually necessary.
User death imminent.
There is no way to move this elevator down from up here. When going through the chapter for the first time, you'll have to avoid using the elevator and instead damage boost up this way. I also wanted to see if I could go forward through them again.
Personnel evacuate. Facility.
Morphine administered. Minor lacerations detected. Warning.
To go back through C1A0E, you will have to have started the game on that map. It is the only way to keep these two doors open.
I'm afraid we'll be deviating a bit.
Yes, I'm good reason. What?
Manufacture detected.
You will have to make and load a save here before this change level begins working. So to recap, here are the major streaks. You can go from C3A2 to the end of C2A5D, which is 8 maps. Note that the numbers I give for how many maps you go through are a bit of my subjective opinion for how much is a full map traveled through. What am I even saying? You can go from C4A1A to C3A2A, which is 9 maps. You can go from the start of C1A4 to C1A0, which is 15 maps. You can go from C2A3D to C1A4G, which is 16 maps. And you can go from C2A5G to the end of C2A3E, which is 17 maps.